If you're a concerned citizen and you reach out to your elected official, you end up in a virtual stack like this. Every single day, legislators around the country are facing inundation and amounts of mail, and they don't have the staff, resources, nor tools to deal with it. We're Represently. We're a software program that makes it easier for congressional officials and state legislators alike to hear, respond, and get back to their constituents. We were born at the second annual Congressional Hackathon, where developers like myself come together with congressional offices to listen to their needs and understand how technology can be better used to leverage government and make it more effective and efficient. I'm Joseph Nelson. I'm the Director of Product Development at Represently. I spent a bit of time on Capitol Hill before working in Facebook's DC office. I understand the power of technology and how it can make government more efficient and more responsive to its people. I'm joined by my two co-founders, Kevin and Nathan.
Hi, I'm Nathan Piggott, and I'm the lead engineer at Represently. I started my career developing software for the U.S. intelligence community up in Maryland. From there, I did a brief stint in private sector cybersecurity, and now I'm a software engineer at a financial tech startup right here in D.C. On my engineering team, I'm joined by two additional software developers with real-world experience across a wide range of industries.
Hi, my name is Kevin Connell. I'm a senior here at the business school, studying business and economics. My background's primarily in finance, creating financial models for real estate investors. However, I gained firsthand experience dealing with constituent communication while working for the White House's Office of Presidential Correspondence.
Congress faces several problems. When you write a letter about an issue that matters most to you, say Veterans Affairs or the Syrian refugee crisis, you're one of thousands that come in every single day. Emails, form letters, anything on their contact page goes in one single stack. In fact, volume is increasing over 1,000% for some offices. The average increase in the Senate is 548% year over year. The House, it's 158%. Congress doesn't have the means to deal with this huge volumetric increase. Second, transparency. Believe it or not, congressional members don't even know for sure if the people that reach out to them truly live in their district. Not only that, but they don't even know if that piece of correspondence was generated by a constituent or by an interest group on their behalf. Third, response drafting. Once you've made sense of this huge stack of letters and spent a minimum of 8 hours per week sorting it, you still have to write a response, and that response needs to be approved by other staffers within your office going up the chain of command before it gets back to the constituent. That process takes, on average, 3 weeks, and for many offices, longer than that. Fourth, analytics. Offices have a tremendous wealth of information about what their constituents care about most, and they're not leveraging it to build deeper relationships and communicate more effectively with their constituents. We're building a solution that solves those problems.
Represently is a tool to improve communication between the American people and those who represent them. So how do we help Congress deal with this mess? Well, it's a four-step process. First, message intake. Second, automatic categorization. Third, response drafting. And finally, analytics. The message intake process all starts with the constituent. Represently's intuitive user interface will make it easier than ever before for people to express their opinions on a wide range of issues quickly and easily. Additionally, Represently is the only product that checks independent sources to confirm that the users sending messages are actually from the congressman's district. Congress is being bombarded by online communication right now, and they want to give priority to the people they actually represent. Once the messages have been sent, Represently automatically sorts and categorizes them using two artificial intelligence techniques: natural language processing and machine learning. Natural language processing is a technique for parsing and analyzing unstructured text. It helps a computer understand a language like English in the same way that humans do. Machine learning operates by building a model based on examples. It enables a software program to make predictive decisions driven by past data. Using these two techniques, Represently will eliminate the need for congressional staffers to manually sort and sift through mail for hours on end before they even begin to respond. Once the messages have been sorted, staffers need to draft a response. And before that response can be sent out, it needs to be approved by their superiors within the office. We're bringing a novel approach to this approval system, completely overhauling the process to make it more simple, fast, and reliable, ensuring that no constituent message ever falls through the cracks. Additionally, Represently's automatic response suggestion feature provides staffers with immediate access to the most relevant responses their office has sent out in the past. This eliminates the need for redundant approvals and enables a quicker turnaround time. So we've talked about how we'll streamline the mail process itself, messages coming in, responses coming out, but there's another part of the problem that we're working to solve. Right now, due to the shortcomings of existing mail management software, most congressional offices treat constituent correspondence as nothing more than a chore that needs to be dealt with. But with Represently's analytics engine, we're turning constituent messages into one of their most valuable assets. By correlating information from our natural language processing algorithm with user data, we're providing deeper insights into what truly matters to the people they represent and helping Washington politics stay a little more local. So that's Represently in a nutshell. We're working to make the flow of information coming in more organized and manageable, to help congressional offices send better responses and send them more quickly, and finally, to provide useful analysis of the mail constituents are sending, turning this flood of information into something a member of Congress can understand and act on.
We know Capitol Hill and state legislators alike need our product. The Congressional Management Foundation regularly runs comprehensive surveys of what the market is like. Compared to the last 2 years, 73% of offices are spending more time on this exact problem. Not only that, but 2 out of 3 offices wish they had the approval process that we've described today. What's more, 89% of offices care deeply about the transparency problem that we described. In fact, we not only listened to the research of the Congressional Management Foundation, we engaged in individual interviews with the offices. Among 12 House of Representative offices and 10 Senate offices, we derived a few key insights. The second annual Congressional Hackathon resulted in these findings. Note, left unchanged, Congress will not have the tools to succeed in the emerging digital environment. This is a report that was put together by Kevin McCarthy's office and Steny Hoyer. It's a bipartisan issue, even nonpartisan, to be able to communicate better. Second, technology is the problem. One House member or one chief of staff in the House said, "I'm frustrated with the limited technology available for processing mail." Not only that, but Matt Lira, a senior advisor who has a career first in the digital space of politics, when I've met with him on multiple occasions, has noted existing tools hinder congressional offices' ability to engage with their constituents. The congressional community should prioritize upgrading the tools available to member offices. That's Represently.
Our market size is quite large. We're going to begin by going after members of the House of Representatives before quickly moving into the Senate. Simultaneously, we'll be building out our stateside solution, which will sell to to state legislatures and governors by the second half of 2017.
The way that we're going to go after this market is 3 key segments. First, young offices need a solution. If you're newly elected, like the 60 new offices in the 114th Congress, you need a solution. Not only that, but 66% of offices in the 114th Congress are younger than 6 years old. Moreover, leadership offices have domino effects. That's why we've spoken with Steny Hoyer and Kevin McCarthy's office. If you adopt at the top, it has ripple effects for the rest of the market. Not only that, but once you have high margin sales at the federal level, it's easier to bring state level officials, given that the officials will be communicating with their constituents on our platform. Lastly, ease of transition. Capitol Hill's turnover is incredibly high, between offices as well as staffs. The ability to use a product, learn it quickly, and enable offices to understand with minimal training is the power of Represently. Now, it doesn't mean we can't just immediately build a product and bring it to Capitol Hill. There's an administrative process for which we've already begun. There's 3 key steps. First, you have to demonstrate the need that Capitol Hill needs your product. We've done that. You then go to the Chief Administrative Office, the CAO, and you learn the standards that they provide for vendors before they can commercialize their product. You sign a non-disclosure agreement, and you agree to securing the standards that they define for you. That's where we are now. In my continued meetings with them, they're excited to have a young professional who wants to commercialize new technology and is excited to work with Represently to be the new solution to solve this exact problem. We'll continue developing with Nathan's team and the 3 engineers so that we'll have our product ready to commercialize and tested by the 115th Congress, which begins in January.
Our business model is very straightforward. We'll be charging congressional offices $1,400 a month and state offices $100 a month. By year 3, we anticipate having 130 federal offices and 400 state offices, which puts our top line revenue at $2.7 million. We chose these price points because it allows us to achieve an operating margin of 20% by year 3. Additionally, we know offices are willing to pay these prices because we analyze congressional budgetary filing information, which is released quarterly, and most offices currently pay over $1,800 a month right now. So this is just a high-level look at a high-level income statement from Represently. You'll note that this year we anticipate a slightly negative net income, which we attribute to startup costs, website and server maintenance fees, and other general costs. However, by year 2, we anticipate capturing 30 congressional offices and 60 plus state offices, which will offset our costs. Our numbers only improve by there, from there, resulting in a top-line revenue of $5.3 million by year 5. Also important to note, we anticipate our operating margin to stabilize at around 40% going forward. There's no other product in the market like Represently right now. Our competitors are Intranet Quorum, which holds 50% of the market right now, iConstituent, which holds 30%, Fireside 21 holding 20%, and Symphodium, which currently holds 3 to 4%. We've talked to 20 plus of our customers, and they are wholly unsatisfied with our competitors. First, the user interface is clunky and confusing and not very easy to use. In fact, many of our customers say that the product looks like it was made in the 90s. This kind of rolls into our second problem, which is the product still acts like it was made in the 90s and hasn't been updated since then. Most offices still spend over 8 hours a week hand sorting mail. That shouldn't be happening, and that won't happen with Represently. Third, they've kind of grown complacent. They don't update their products very often, and when they do, they don't address user needs. Represently is building an easy-to-use, clean, and most importantly, powerful mail management system for offices, all for a lower price.
Costs aren't zero. Your investment helps us attract other investment. Not only that, but customer service in this market is a market differentiator. The ability to have not only an easy-to-use tool that we're building, but someone on the Hill to help with trainings and ensure that we can have our product commercialized is key. Second, web hosting costs a little over 10% of sales. This is an Amazon Web Services estimate. Third, development services that we can pay for enable us to bring our minimum viable product to market faster. Having more developers and better access to tools, of course, accelerates the commercialization process. You have the ability to help constituents be better heard by lawmakers at the state and federal level. By ensuring that Represently can be brought to market, you're enabling a more responsive and clean representative democracy process, thereby improving the engagement of state, local, and federal officials. Thank you for your time.
What is the inbound mail media percentage breakout?
In terms of which type of mail comes from where?
Yeah, text, Facebook, email.
Yeah, so to be clear, the segment of mail that we're talking about, or communication, is non-Facebook and non-Twitter. Integrating those products later is easy. We're talking about the contact forms, emails, and post. The breakdown within those 3 categories of how offices receive inbound communication shows that online communication is accelerating over the last 8 years and is now up to about 60% of the market, according to the Congressional Management Foundation, and post is around 20%.
So it doesn't matter to you the mix of those 3? I mean, as it moves from post to online, or from others like moving to Twitter and Facebook, it doesn't, you can migrate the service to handle that?
Yeah, so to be clear, offices, when they deal with Facebook and Twitter, don't have the same sort of precedent for requiring a response to the constituents. How they run their Facebook and Twitter presences is entirely up to them. Constituent communication is a privileged form, which is why you have to go through the administrative hurdles. And in fact, as it increasingly becomes online, that helps our product. For offline letters, you can scan them in, and then text recognition, if it's a typed letter, enables us to categorize it the same way. Handwritten letters still be taken care of by a reading.
So just one other quick question.
Sure.
Fortunately, government, I hope, is a limited resource, and it should be shrinking, I hope.
Yeah.
So how do you grow the market or your revenue? I mean, after you penetrate so much, what else is there?
Yeah. So you can start with this question.
Yeah, so by year 2, we're going to roll into state offices. Now, we're charging them less. We're charging them only $100 a month, but there's over 7,000 of those offices. So there's a lot more money to be made there. And that's kind of just how we anticipate growing our revenue. We're going to start on the Hill and move to state offices, of which there are a lot more.
In addition, our mentor, Bob Smith, who's been in the e-government space, notes that this same technology can be applied to the comment section of like the FCC page or even international solutions, because he has a friend, believe it or not, in Bangladesh who has this serious problem. To be clear, the ability for a constituent to be heard by a body that is answerable to them is not uniquely a government one.
So just clarification on the product. Do you build the actual top of the funnel, so it's the capture of the information? And then tell me a little bit about post. Is that your scanners or your technology just puts it in the database and then gives me the ability to index it and recognize it from there?
Right, yes. So we do, in fact, provide the message intake functions, the constituent-facing side of the service, and constituents will be able to submit their messages in a more clean, efficient way. And from there, it goes to our natural language processing and machine learning engine, which categorizes it, sorts it, stuff like that. And from there, staffers have access to it from their own inboxes on the Hill.
Talk about Post for a bit. Or Post.
Oh, so yeah, so mail will be, you mean like paper mail, right? Will be scanned if it's a typed letter, and from there, that information will also be passed through natural language processing, machine learning. Responses can be created in the same general flow as online communication.
And to be clear, that technology is ours.
Can you go back to your slide maybe about the competitors? I thought you went through that a little fast for me. Can you just discuss them? I also know that, you know, if some existing congressional offices already committed to, you know, a term of using another competitor's software for a period of 1 year or 3 years, it may slow down your entry to market.
Yeah, so that's why, as Joe alluded to, we're going after freshman offices. It's an election year next year, this upcoming year. So there'll be a lot more offices that don't, a lot more freshman offices. So they'll be our primary, our I guess, initial customer. From there, we'll prove our worth and we'll show that we have a superior product. And offices that we've talked to, again, are not satisfied with the competitors they have it because it's their only options. We're bringing them a new option. We're going to prove it to them with those freshman members of Congress.
And what you've discussed, that the sales cycle depends on the office, matters. In the Senate, it's a 5-year contract. In the House, it's a 2-year contract. That's why we're going after freshman offices that immediately need a solution. And a few offices we've spoken with are actually on month to month, and frankly wish they could adopt us tomorrow.
You said they're spending $1,800 a month now. Is that for these types of services?
Yeah. For all these competitors, most offices pay $1,800 or more.
Okay. And I think this is part of the question he was asking about growing the market, but like you'll build this natural language software and decision-making software that has a lot of opportunity outside of governments that, like you said, there's maybe 1,000 customers, right?
Yeah.
What about, customer service for brands or other companies that might have a higher willingness to pay and greater market opportunity?
Yeah, exactly. And the way that we would approach that market is once we've validated the primary technology with NLP on the Hill, using that same sort of algorithm can be applied to a host of other private services. As I noted, for example, customer service, you receive a bunch of angry letters. Categorizing those angry letters about why your flight was delayed or a refund that you need is all applications that can be commercialized on the same NLP, natural language processing. I believe you had a question when we were making you wait.
He actually answered
Okay.
the exact same question I had. I was actually going to bring up not only brands, but celebrities, and there's so many applications. And so I think you guys already answered my question.
Great.
To the point about constituency validation or voter verification, depending on which way you cut people who live in a district, how are you going to do that in a way that's not manipulatable? And even expounding that, if you go into a place where you're using brands or celebrities, how do you do that so that data is not manipulatable? Because it's deeply manipulatable now.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're talking about voter verification, there's really 2 parts to that problem. Congress gets a message that has a full name and a postal address attached to it. And part 1 is they want to know, is that name and address, does that correspond to a real person who lives in their district? Part 2 is knowing if that was submitted by a real person versus an automated software program, usually used by interest groups. So for part 1, if you're, let's say, like a farmer in Iowa right now, and a congressman in California is working on an agriculture regulations bill that affects your livelihood, you want to write to him, if you go to their contact page, you'll be forced to enter an address within that congressman's district in California, which means you cannot send him a message without creating a fake address. That's an absolutely ridiculous system, and we're doing away with it, which removes the incentive for people to create fake addresses. On top of that, we're checking publicly available records to confirm that the name and address do correspond to a real human that lives in the district. Now, part 2 is confirming that it's a real person and not a automated software program. We have the technical solution to do that. That's widely available. It exists right now, and it's just up to us to implement it. So using those 2 things, we'll be able to let everything come in, especially from non-constituents, but allow Hill offices to have a better sense of where it actually came from and let them sort, filter, and respond to it as they see fit.
I'm sort of curious a little bit about the timing here. So I like the idea of focusing on the freshman market because that's new. There's no established system that you have to displace. Those folks are going to start work sometime in January.
That's right.
I'm not quite clear on where you are with product development, but I'm assuming you're still in development, and you'll ship when? Approximately, when will you launch?
So
Very quickly, just because I actually have
Fall.
a follow-up question.
Fall.
So the issue is, and I know a little bit about federal government contracting because about 90% of my company's clients happen to be the federal government. Getting contracted with the House, that process is laborious
Correct.
and complicated. And if you're going to do a direct deal with the House, it's even worse because
Correct.
you're not set up yet for that. What partnerships do you envision having to put together in order to make sure that these freshman congressmen can actually buy off the menu
Yep.
and be able to acquire your product?
Yeah, so these are the issues I discussed with Malcolm Freeney last Wednesday, who's in the CAO managing these issues exactly. And you're right that the government contracting process is complex. And to be clear, federal government contracting to an agency is very different than Congress. With an agency, you have to get on schedules and whatnot. Congress has conveniently exempted themselves from that. So we go through the CAO process. The CAO process is you sign this non-disclosure agreement. There's 90 pages of things that we wish we could tell you about with the standards. And you meet those standards, they test your product, and you're allowed to sell it to offices. We are not going the route where we're having our solution as like the starter kit is what it's called, where you sell to Congress writ large, and then they choose. Okay, they choose. We're selling to individual offices, which just means you get a certified vendor.